Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a location today that feels less like a town and more like a massive open-air history book.
Mm,
We're talking about Borgarnes. It sits in the lower Borgarfjörður region of Western Iceland.
right.
And for anyone driving the famous Ring Road, Route 1, it's basically the gateway to the west, just about 75 kilometers north of Reykjavik.
It really is the perfect anchor point for understanding the sheer scale of Iceland's existence.
Mm.
I mean, our mission here, looking at the sources, is to reveal why this one compact spot on a small peninsula holds such immense foundational weight.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating here is that Borgarnes, and it's pronounced Borgarnes, is defined by two profoundly intense and linked narratives.
Intense is definitely the right word.
Exactly. On one side, you have geological history that's so dramatic it's almost violent. You've got these forces of ice and water that just completely fractured and reshaped the land. And then on the other side, you have the deepest literary heritage of Iceland, centering on one of the most brutal, complex, and, well, brilliant figures to ever walk the sagas.
The warrior poet Egil Skallagrimsson.
The one and only. You cannot separate the story of the ice from the story of the iron here.
I love that framing. So let's start with the Earth, because the physical scale of the past here it's truly hard to visualize without some guidance. What's the fundamental structure we're dealing with?
Well, we need to start at the very bottom,
Yep.
the bedrock.
Okay.
We are talking about neogene basaltic lava flows, which is ancient material by Icelandic standards, somewhere between 10 to 16 million years old.
10 to 16 million?
Yep. This foundation originated from an extinct central volcano system, the Hafnarfjallsskarshazi, just to the northeast.
Yeah.
So you have a landscape built on, millions of years of volcanic violence.
So to put that in simpler terms, this is stable, hardened, but very old volcanic rock.
Yeah.
But what does that ancient structure have to say about the end of the last ice age? Because that's the period that truly sculpted the Borgarfjörður region into what we see today.
This is where the intensity really ramps up. We're looking at a huge change driven by a concept called glacio-isostatic depression.
That sounds complicated.
It's a big scientific term, but conceptually, it's pretty simple. The weight of the massive Icelandic ice sheet during the late Weichselian period was so enormous, it literally depressed the Earth's crust. It just pushed the land down,
Pushed it down into the mantle.
sinking it right into the mantle. Yeah.
So how deep are we talking? Give us a number that sticks.
Studies suggest the crust was depressed by nearly 250 meters.
250.
Yeah, and that required an ice thickness of potentially up to 840 meters right above this region.
Wow.
Just try to imagine the land as a sponge, bending under the weight of something impossibly heavy.
That is an almost unbelievable weight. And the immediate consequence of the land sinking that far is what? That the relative sea level was dramatically higher? The sources suggest there's a ghost sea level left behind, right?
Precisely. Because the land was so low, the ocean just flooded inland far beyond today's coast.
Yeah.
We find raised marine terraces, so ancient shorelines, from the Bulling Interstadial, that's about 12,600 years ago,
Okay.
at elevations well over 100 meters above our present sea level.
So if we zoom in on that, Borgarnes today sits on a peninsula, right, clearly above the water. But 12,600 years ago, those flat coastal lowlands, the Melassveit district, they would have been completely submerged.
Completely. You would have been looking at a fjord that was vastly different,
Okay.
dramatically wider, deeper, with the modern ring road just entirely underwater.
It's a real aha moment when you realize the sheer volume of land that has rebounded since then.
The land has been rising, but what's so fascinating here is the speed of the deglaciation. This wasn't a gentle retreat of ice. No. Between about 15,000 and 14,700 years ago, the marine-based ice sheet sector experienced what scientists call an extremely rapid nonlinear collapse.
A rapid collapse. What caused that?
The scientific consensus points to the oceans rising extremely quickly, a rapid eustatic sea level rise, which destabilized the ice front.
So the rising water broke the ice.
Basically, imagine a wall of ice floating on the ocean. If the water underneath it rises fast, it causes massive structural instability. That resulted in large-scale calving, like giant pieces of the glacier breaking off all at once.
I see.
And the land was so depressed that even as the ice vanished, the rebound lagged, leaving those massive high shorelines behind.
So the crust basically snapped back up over millennia, but the initial melt was a catastrophe, a violent, rapid removal of the ice load. And it wasn't a clean break either. The sources mention a pause in the warming.
That's right. The drama of the Ice Age wasn't over. The younger Dryas stadial, which happened later, from roughly 12,000 to 10,300 years ago, saw a period of significant global cooling.
So it got cold again.
It did. And this interruption caused glaciers to re-advance towards the outer coastal areas, forming new major landforms like the Skorholz-Miller moraine complex. This whole region is just a testament to the planet's capacity for sudden extreme oscillation.
That sets a powerful stage. The Earth here was sculpted by violence, the violent collapse of ice, the sinking and rising of land. So now we take that raw, intense, recently sculpted landscape, we jump forward 11,000 years, and we introduce human history, which in Borgarnes is centered on a human character just as intense and violent as the landscape itself. Egil Skallagrimsson.
This is the critical transition. You can't separate Borgarnes from Iceland's foundational literary treasures, the sagas of Icelanders. Yeah. And Egil, the hero of Egil's saga or Egil, is the perfect encapsulation of the Viking Age contradictions.
He's often called the epitome of the Viking spirit, but he's so much more than a simple berserker, isn't he?
He truly is. The saga covers the years between roughly 850 and 1000 AD. And Egil was, well, a brutal warrior, a ruthless, greedy Viking who was quick to kill anyone who offended him.
But at the same time.
But simultaneously, he was a brilliant poet. He composed some of the most complex and genuinely moving verses in the Old Norse language. It shows this profound internal sensitivity that just sharply contrasts with his external actions.
And his family's arrival in Iceland is itself a saga of exile. It starts with his grandfather, Ulf, also known as Kveldolf, Wolf, and his father, Skallagrimur, fleeing Norway after a run-in with King Harald Fairhair.
And Skallagrimur clearly inherited the family temper.
He certainly did.
Kveldolf died during the voyage to Iceland, and his coffin was set adrift, which was a tradition. Skallagrimur then established the settlement near the spot where his father's coffin washed ashore in the Borgarfjörður region.
And that became Borg Amirum.
Borg Amirum, which means Borg in the wetlands.
Which gives the town its name. The Icelandic word Borg can mean city, but it also refers to a rocky hill or cliff.
Which is very fitting, isn't it, for a town on a small, elevated peninsula?
It is.
The name is deliberate. And here's where the physical landscape feeds directly into the human story. Skallagrimur settled here and became a farmer and a blacksmith. But, building a life in Iceland required metal. And metal requires resources. Why this spot?
That's a great question. If we look at the sources, the area's geology provided more than just hard basalt for building. It offered practical economic survival.
Which was?
The nearby Raulinas Peninsula had readily accessible bog iron.
And bog iron was absolutely essential for Viking Age society. It's a low-grade iron ore that forms in peat bogs and wetlands. It might sound crude, but it was the main source of iron for tools, weapons, farming equipment, everything in early Iceland.
So Skallagrimur needed that iron to forge the tools to survive and thrive.
He did, and the precise site of that smithy is actually one of the marked locations in the area today, Cairn number 5.
It's just remarkable how that small strategic geological advantage, the bog iron, dictated where one of Iceland's founding families settled. It literally provided the tools for the saga to begin.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the saga tradition itself is rooted here. Snorri Sturluson, the famous 13th century historian and poet, also lived at Borg.
Right.
And many scholars believe Snorri actually wrote Egil's saga, connecting the story of Egil not just to the land across generations, but to the very person responsible for recording so much of Iceland's history.
So the land, the hero, and the chronicler are all tied together in this one spot.
Exactly.
That's a powerful layer of history. For the listener interested in experiencing this, the entire story, the archaeology, the geology, the poetry, it's all curated at the town's cultural heart, the settlement center.
It is a phenomenal resource. The center is housed in two of Borgarnes' oldest and most carefully restored buildings. The Merchant House from the 1870s and the Warehouse from the 1880s.
I've read about this.
When you walk into the partially sunken basement of the old warehouse with its rough-hewn stone walls, it immediately provides this tangible atmospheric connection to the past.
And it's designed for the learner, not just the tourist, right?
Yeah, very much so. There are two main deep dive exhibitions. The Settlement exhibition uses stunning visual and audio displays to detail how the Vikings navigated the treacherous North Atlantic and, crucially, how they established the world's first parliament at Tungafjord.
And the other one.
And then you have the heart of it all, the Egil's Saga exhibition. This focuses specifically on the tumultuous life and poetry of the warrior poet. It uses dramatic lighting, specially commissioned sculptures, and a comprehensive audio guide to bring that 10th century story to life.
The audio guide is available in 15 languages, which is important because the nuance of the saga narrative is so deep.
Absolutely. Without it, you miss the emotional context behind Eagle's often outrageous actions.
But the truly unique experience here is that the history isn't contained just within the walls of the museum. The town has created the 9 cairns of Eagle's saga.
Yes, this is brilliant.
These stone markers allow you, the visitor, to actively walk the saga, connecting the text directly to the physical landscape.
It actually maps the geography of the narrative. These markers pinpoint the most dramatic moments in the life of Eagle and his family. For instance, Cairn 3 marks Skallagrimshagar.
The burial mound of Eagle's father.
Exactly, which is located in the modern Skallagrimsgirr Park. This is where the founding family's remains are allegedly interred.
And Cairn 2 marks one of the saga's darkest moments. Brockersund, the strait where Skallagrimr, in a fit of, berserker rage, murdered his son, Eagle's beloved nursemaid, Horgeria Brock.
Just for trying to protect the boy, it's brutal. The Cairns emphasize that the sagas aren't abstract historical fiction. They are rooted in distinct, observable locations. They turn a peaceful park into a site of alleged ancient murder and burial.
And in fact, Skallagrimsgirr Park, in addition to being a lovely green space, is believed by some to be the final resting place of Eagle himself.
It truly gives you a sense of walking on layers of violence. The Earth's geological violence and the character's human violence, all concentrated in one spot.
That direct physical connection is what makes this area so incredibly compelling, both academically and as a travel destination.
No question.
So let's pivot to the modern learner. Borgarnes today functions as the ideal hub for exploring the entire western region, or Vesterland. It's a key waypoint on Route 1.
Exactly. If you base yourself here, you can easily explore what's known as the Silver Circle. And its accessibility is itself a product of the extreme geology we've been discussing.
So tell us about some of those must-see spots accessible from Borgarnes.
Well, less than an hour's drive away, you have Deildartungur.
Europe's most powerful hot spring.
That's the one. Its sheer output is staggering, producing over 180 liters of boiling water per second. That heat energy from the active rift zone nearby is a direct payoff from the immense geological forces that shape the region.
You also have the stunning sight of the Hraunfossar and Barnafossar waterfalls about 45 minutes away. Hraunfossar is it's so unique.
It is, because the water doesn't fall off a cliff. It seems to emerge directly from the lava field, running horizontally out of the porous basalt and into the river below.
And for those seeking major glacier activity,
Borgarnes is a great launch point for reaching Langjökull, Iceland's second-largest glacier. Husafell, the main meetup spot for tours to the ice caves, is an easy drive, about 45 minutes away.
And the town itself offers that true local Icelandic experience. It's a full-service center with everything you need. But the ultimate local amenity has to be the naturally heated Borgarnes swimming pool.
Absolutely. The pool sits right near the historical park, and it takes full advantage of that geothermal activity we just mentioned. You get water slides, multiple hot tubs, steam baths. It's where the community gathers. It's the perfect end to a long day.
So what does this all mean for the person who now understands Borgarnes?
I think it means Borgarnes isn't just a waypoint. It's the physical realization of Iceland's defining characteristics. It is a dramatic synthesis, a place where the land violently rose nearly 250 meters from the sea after immense ice collapse, and where that same rough terrain hosted the intensely complex, violent, yet beautiful story of the foundation of Iceland's literary identity.
So you now hold the key to understanding Borgarfjörður, not just as a location on Route 1, but as a territory defined by collapsing ice sheets and the raw, unforgettable character of Egil Skallagrimsson.
And we noted that the nonlinear collapse of that massive ice sheet 15,000 years ago was triggered by a rapid external factor, rising ocean levels.
Right. This raises an important question for you to consider long after this deep dive is finished. If the physical crust of Iceland responded with such violence and speed to melting ice and rising water then, what does this ancient localized history tell us about the planet's capacity for sudden, extreme, non-linear change today?